guys, it's Miss Simpson, and it is time for social studies today. So this week, to try and cut down on some of your assignments, I'm going to combine your social studies assignment, and I'm going to combine your writing assignment, and we're going to put it all in one so that you only have one assignment to do for both subjects. I think that that's a pretty good compromise because you just had that crazy STAAR testing day, and I'm trying to give you a little bit of a break this week. And we have Tuesday and Wednesday, we have a math benchmark and reading benchmark. So I'm trying to make it easier. So this will be Thursday and Friday. This will be your only social studies video. I'm going to tell you all about the Great Depression. And starting today, you're going to start doing some research. So over the next few weeks and months, we're going to be working on some research projects after the STAAR test. And when we have a little bit more time for some fun, and we are going to dip our toes into the water, so to speak, and try it out this week. So this will count for an English grade. This will also count for a social studies grade. So you are getting 2 grades off of this one assignment. Yes, this is a longer video. I have a lot to tell you, a lot to go over, but it's your only video for 2 days, and then you just get to work on your project. So let's go ahead and talk. So we're going to learn today about the Great Depression. So what was the Great Depression and what caused the Great Depression? So banks actually gave out loans, and a loan is money that the bank gives you that you pay back over a period of time. And that's how a lot of people buy their houses. That's how I just recently bought my house. I got a loan from a bank, and they gave me money that I didn't have, and I'm going to pay them out over the next 30 years to give them their money back. But they gave out these loans without seeing if the people could actually pay it back. So nowadays, people get their history checked to see if they can actually pay back the loans. And banks did not do that. More items were actually being made that could be sold, which is a waste of money. And mechanization replaced workers, causing unemployment to go up. So they made robots take over a little bit more than the people. So unemployment started to go up, and the stock market crashed. So let's talk about the stock market crash. We had a booming economy that inspired consumer confidence. People were buying so many products. There were items that were being bought on credit cards. There was a lot of debt in the country. It started to grow and grow and grow. So the stock values increased until they crashed on Black Tuesday, October 29th, 1929. So people were becoming fairly confident. They started charging their credit cards more, buying more things. So debt in our country began to rise and rise and rise and rise and rise and rise and rise. People couldn't pay back what they were buying. There weren't enough jobs for people because we were becoming more mechanized with robots. And the stock market values increased. People weren't investing in them as much. All of it was increasing. Everything was getting more expensive, and there's more debt, so there's not enough money to go around, and boom, stock market crash. So Herbert Hoover was the president of the United States when the Great Depression started. He was disliked. Nobody liked Herbert Hoover, not a lot of people. There were empty pockets turned inside out by the poor, and that was known as Hoover flags. And there were areas where the poor lived, and they were known as Hoovervilles. In 1933, Americans elected Franklin D. Roosevelt as president of the United States, and he ran on the promise of a New Deal for Americans. So we're in a time of a Great Depression. Our economy is in an all-time low. The stock market has crashed. People do not have a lot of money. They are just scraping by, barely getting what they need to survive. And we have a president that was not very liked, and now we're having a change of president in Roosevelt, who he has a New Deal. He has something he wants to propose to us. So this is a federal program built to improve the economy and help those in need. We had to do something. That the stock market crashed. Our economy was at a low. There was not enough money to go around. So he is trying to help those in need. He held fireside chats, and these fireside chats were radio broadcasts to Americans about issues facing the country and what his plans were. He was trying to help the best that he could. So we got the FERA, which is the Federal Emergency Relief Administration, the Social Security Act, which gave benefits to the elderly, injured, and the orphaned, and the AAA, which is the Agricultural Adjustment Act. This is all part of the New Deal. Whoa, let's go back. I missed some. We got the WPA, which is Works Progress Administration, the TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority, NIRA, which is the National Industry Recovery Act, the CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps, the FSA, Farm Security Administration, and the NLRB, which is National Labor Relations Board. So then, after we have this all going on, during the same time as the Great Depression, the plains experienced a terrible drought. Of course, we're running out of money. We have a lot of debt. There's not a lot of jobs. There's not a lot of food. We're going through a change in president, and we have a drought called the Dust Bowl. This caused our crops to die, and most of the farmers lost their land. There were many families, around 200,000, that moved to California to try and find work. Now, guys, there's not a lot of work going on. We don't have a lot of work. We're in the Great Depression. There's not a whole lot, but they're moving to California to get some work. So the economy continued to improve because of the New Deal, but it did not fully recover until World War II, when manufacturers switched to wartime production. The New Deal lost increased role of government in our daily lives, and the infrastructure of roads, schools, parks, airports, and bridges were actually built up. So the New Deal started to, it did improve the economy, but it wasn't completely and fully improved until we had to increase manufacturing, which provided more jobs. People had more money, therefore they could buy more products during wartime. So let's talk about World War II. So dictators became leaders in Italy, Japan, and Germany. Nationalistic pride was encouraged among these countries. Powerful, very powerful police and security forces were created to enforce the dictator's ideas. So let's talk about what a dictator is. In the United States, we have a democracy. That means we vote for our elected officials, and our elected officials hopefully are voted in that we want to be in office, and they carry out what we believe should happen in our government. Now, a dictatorship is when there is one person in power. They are not elected or whatever most of the time. They are a dictator. They appoint themselves over power, and they rule. They do rule. They dictate what is going to happen. We don't get to vote. We don't get a say. They just say what is going to happen. And so in Italy, Japan, and Germany, they just had a dictator at the beginning of World War II. They all have dictators, and they're just tell their people what to do. Now here, especially like in you see this a lot in local government too. Like, we get to vote on things. Here coming up, there's going to be a proposition for the Azle ISD. We want to build some new things and renovate some new things, but they can't do that unless the people of Azle vote yes. But in dictatorships, that does not happen. They just do what they think is right, and they move on. They do not get the say of the people. So let's talk about causes of World War II. Germany was broken. They were in a super bad economic state, and they were embarrassed after World War I. The Treaty of Versailles punished Germany, and it wounded its national pride. Japan was in search of a new world order, and they wanted to conquer mainland Asia. Italy wanted to colonize and rule Africa, and Germany wanted power over Europe. They had all these wants and needs, and there were a lot of things going on. The war was fought between the Allies and the Axis powers. So the Allies and the Axis, those are words that is used to describe a group of countries that work together. So the Allies were Great Britain, China, France, the Soviet Union, and us, the United States. And the Axis powers was Germany, Italy, Japan. The Soviet Union actually did align with Axis powers until 1941, when they changed over to Allies. Germany invaded Poland and then divided the country with the Soviet Union. France and Great Britain declared war on Germany, and Germany invaded the Soviet Union, causing them to turn on Germany and join the Allies. The United States was actually trying to stay neutral. So if you remember anything about World War II, I want you to remember the part about the United States. We were trying to stay neutral, but then on December 7th, 1941, Japan attacked the United States at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Pearl Harbor. It was a very tragic day in the United States, and when that happened, we declared war and we joined the Allied forces. We decided they can't attack us like that and let's not retaliate, and so we joined the Allied forces and declared war. World War II was fought on 3 separate fronts, or in 3 separate places. So in the east, it was fought with Russia. In the Mediterranean, it included Africa, and the western was in France and Great Britain. So Germany had invaded most of Europe. During this Battle of Britain, they also tried to take over Great Britain, but they failed. So Germany was really trying to take over a lot of territory. It wasn't until 1942 that the Allies, remember the Allies we were on the Allies in that group, the United States was, and this is when we really started to fight back. Great Britain began bombing Germany. Allies took control of Northern Africa and Southern Italy, and Italy ended up surrendering. And they were part of one of the forces. Russians defeated the Germans on the Eastern Front and pushed them back. So then we have D-Day, and that is another common thing you're going to hear a lot of the time is D-Day when we're talking about World War II. So on June 6th, 1944, the Allies, which again is what the United States is a part of, we attacked the Western Front at the invasion of Normandy, and that is what that battle is called. We pushed the Germans out of France, and it resulted in the Battle of Bulge, where the German army was actually defeated. We were going against the German army, so that's good. They surrendered Germany did, to the Allies on May 7th, 1945, and on May 8th, it's now known as VE Day, which stands for Victory in Europe Day. Whoa. Okay, so let's talk about national celebrations. These world wars led to a sense of pride and patriotism for Americans. World Wars I and II led to the founding of actually 2 national holidays. We have Veterans Day, which is a holiday that honors American veterans of all of the wars. I'm sure that you have celebrated Veterans Day, and some of you might have a veteran in your family, and you might want to thank them for what they've done for our country. We celebrate Veterans Day every year on November 11th, and the anniversary of the ending, which is the anniversary of the end of fighting during World War I in 1918, and at the 11th hour of the 11th day on the 11th month. Then the second national holiday that came out of it was Memorial Day. This is a day of remembrance for all of those who have died while defending the United States. We first celebrated this after the Civil War, which, remember, that was one against the North and the South. We did this by placing flowers on the graves of the soldiers at Arlington National Cemetery. It was originally called Decoration Day, and it was observed the last Monday of May, and we never, ever, ever have school on Memorial Day to observe this holiday. All right, so that is all I have for you on the Great Depression and World War II and kind of the causes and national celebrations, what has happened. You are going to now start your research project. You are going to be researching the Great Depression. That is the very first thing that I talked about. I only talked about it for a few slides, so let's go back and take a look. This was a time of economic downfall when the stock market crashed. This was a time when we didn't have a whole lot of money. Employment went up. So you are going to today and tomorrow, you've got a few jobs. Number one, good researchers actually ask themselves questions while you're reading and while you're researching. So you are going to come up with 3 questions that you have about the Great Depression. So it could be anything. What is the stock market crash? That's a good one. Answer. What caused the Great Depression? How did the Great Depression affect the United States, or how did it affect Texas? What were some conditions in the Great Depression? And then right here is where you're going to record any information that you find. So you're going to have question 1, your answer, question 2, your answer, question 3, and your answer. Then you're going to research any information that you find about the Great Depression. So if you find research that isn't about the Great any of your answers, it doesn't answer any of the questions, you're going to write it right here. So literally, guys, anything that you find, I want you to write it right here. It can be the date it started, the date it ended. It could be just random facts about the Great Depression. It could be books maybe that you find that are written about the Great Depression. It can be anything. So again, you have 3 questions you want to find answers to. You're going to find their answers. And while you're finding their answers, you're going to research and you're going to tell me any extra information you find. And then once you finish that, you're going to present your research. You have to pick one of these things to present your research to. You can write and perform a song about your findings. You can write a poem about the Great Depression based on what you've learned. You can produce a news broadcast that takes place during the Great Depression. You can choose a meaningful photograph and representing a certain event or situation and write a diary or journal entry as someone in the photograph. You can choose a meaningful photograph representing a certain event or situation and write a letter from someone in the photograph. You can create a comic strip or a PowerPoint presentation with your research and include real photos on your research findings. Or you can create something else with the approval of your teacher. But you have to use at least 3 sources. Well, this says use at least 3 sources for your research and cite them. I haven't shown you how to do that yet. So I'm just going to, this time, I just want you to Google. I just want you to Google your questions about the Great Depression, and I just want you to find your research. This says you're going to present it to the whole class. We are not going to present this one, but we might present our next one. So if I were you, I would do a PowerPoint presentation. You can get on Google Slides. It's an app on your iPad, and you can create a PowerPoint presentation. And I can show you how to turn that in tomorrow. It's super, super easy. You can take screenshots of it. You can put a link. You can send me the link of it. You can download it and upload it that way. I will happily show you how on Help Time if you would like for me to show you how to turn in your PowerPoint. If you don't want to do a PowerPoint, you can do a poster. So you can have a big poster or a large sheet of paper. It cannot be notebook paper. It has to be something bigger. And you can create whatever you found. You can put like the Great Depression in the middle and do a bubble map, or you can do whatever you want to do or however you want to present your information. You can do any of these things. I do have a rubric that I am going to be doing, your creativity. I'm not going to be grading you on sources since I haven't taught you that yet. We will do that later. But you are going to, again, come up with 3 questions and find their answers about the Great Depression. And then any information that you find about the Great Depression, you're going to type right here, and you're going to tell me what you found. And then you're going to either pick, you can pick any of these. I suggest either a PowerPoint or I will also let you do a poster if you want to do it on paper and do a poster of what you have learned about the Great Depression. You have today and you have tomorrow to finish this project. It shouldn't take you very long. I don't expect it to be very elaborate or crazy. You should create your PowerPoint as you're going. Today, I'm going to post the same assignment as I do tomorrow. So it's the same thing today and tomorrow. If you need help turning in your PowerPoint, please get on Zoom on Help Time today or tomorrow, and I'll help you. If you finish your project today, you finish it today and you turn it in. Or if you want 2 days to finish it, you can have 2 days. So I am grading your final product, your PowerPoint, and I am grading, anything that you turn in, your PowerPoint or your poster or anything else of these. So that is what you will be turning in, not this paper. You're using this paper just to help you. All right, guys, if you have any questions, please get on Zoom and I will help you. I will also try my best to remember to talk about this in our morning meeting tomorrow just to help you out. All right, I love you guys so much. Have a great day.